All right, we are live. Hello, everybody, on this beautiful Saturday evening. I am Melissa J Massey, your purveyor of fine fantasy comics and tragic shenanigans. I am joined here tonight by 2 out of 3 of our lovely guests. We have Angela Oddling and we have Nathan Lueth, and Andrew Guilde will be joining us shortly. So why don't we get started? We'll do some introductions. If you guys want to talk about projects you're working on, if you want to rock, paper, scissors for who goes first. I'm just kidding. We'll have Angela take the floor.
I'll go first. Hi, everybody. My name is Angela Oddling. I'm a comics artist. I'm the creator of the webcomic Detached on Tapas, and also the co-creator of the webtoon R.I.P. You and Me that I draw for Chaz Pangburn. I guess some other projects that I'm working on right now is Lucifer Licorice with Russell Nolte, who I've worked with on a couple other anthologies and stuff like that as well. So I'm glad to be here.
We're glad to have you. Nathan, you're up.
Hello, I'm Nathan Lueth. I am the freelance comics artist and illustrator and co-creator of Impure Blood, Steam Fantasy Epic, which is currently in its final days on Kickstarter.
Yeah, and as you can see, there's links scrolling below. I'll try to keep cycling through. Nathan's up. I just had Angela's Instagram up. And
right there.
And of course, we're here celebrating the launch of Black Ball issue 3 on Kickstarter with our 1920s cocktail party. And you can grab that at blackball.melissajmassey.com. Type that into your browser. It'll take you right there, and you can get some really nice stuff. We got books, we have stickers, we have a bookmark that you can color in. It's an activity and a useful tool for your everyday life. We have a coaster set, we have a bottle cap, bottle opener, lots of great stuff. So go on in, check it out. And tonight we're going to be talking about comics, making comics, getting your work out there, the tricky parts of marketing. We've all taken some different paths to get here. I myself am a solo creator. Angela, as you mentioned before, you're also not just a solo creator, but you collab. And Nathan, you are also a collaborator. You do the art side of things.
Soon to be also be a solo creator and whatnot. So, so I'm branching out, trying to diversify.
Excellent. So yeah, why don't we get started? First of all, the most important question of the night: what are you both drinking?
Go ahead, Nathan.
As much as possible.
Wonderful. Right. An excellent answer. Angela, what's in your cup?
I'm drinking chocolate milk out of a cup that has Gandalf.
Excellent. Hey, Gandalf's pretty old. He was probably around in the 20s. So
I bet Gandalf would love chocolate milk.
Absolutely. Cheers. And I myself am drinking a Tom Collins, a nice gin drink, which wasn't invented in the 20s, but they drank it in the 20s. So I think it counts.
There you go.
It was.
All right, guys. So, as comic creators here, we all kind of have different processes for working. You've both worked with writers, and Nathan, as you embark on your solo career, and Angela as also doing that solo side. Maybe we could start talking about, what are some of the differences between putting your own work out there and then working with that other person? And whoever wants to take the floor.
Take it away, Angela.
Sure. So I guess the biggest difference is just that I think that it's a positive difference, is that you have somebody to kind of bounce ideas off of, instead of having your own brain. I know personally for me, creating my webcomic Detached, it's very personal to me. So I am always in my head about it, and I have to come up with all of these characters and themes and scenarios in my own head. And it's very much based on how I perceive the world around me and how I perceive certain situations to take place. So it's more of a personal project, whereas the collabs that I've done, I'm making something cool with my friends. So it's almost more like a conversation rather than being in your own head, which I think is fun. It's the best, honestly.
Absolutely. I wish Andrew was here because we were just talking about this recently. But yeah, when you're collaborating, you're creating something together. You're bouncing stuff off the writer. If you're an artist, you're bouncing stuff off the writer, and sometimes they're giving you're adding stuff to their idea that they never thought of, and then hey, there he is. We're just talking about you. Let's see. So I was referencing the collaboration conversation that we were having previously, but yeah, like an artist can give you ideas that the writer may not have thought of, and then vice versa. The writer's job is really to inspire the artist and write for the artist, as opposed to writing for the audience, like he would in prose novels or what have you. I think will be what Angela said is I think very much going to be the challenge for me is making the stuff that's floating around in my head legible to somebody else. So I'm definitely interested in tips and tricks and how to get concepts onto page and stuff like that.
Yeah. It's definitely tricky. There's a lot of, I have like so many Google Docs of just like brain dumping that I like go through. It's like
So do you find that helpful then, or do you then go through that and like kind of pick out the gems and stuff, or?
Yeah, so I know that like with a lot of writers, I've heard a lot of just writers say that they will like carry a sketchbook, or not a sketchbook, but like a notebook or journal with them and like write down ideas throughout the day, stuff like that. And I don't do that, but I definitely like will jam a bunch of thoughts in my head throughout the day and then come home and just like let it all loose in a Google Doc. Yeah. So yeah, I find it really helpful to have all of that information sort of like, because I can read it, I know what I'm talking about, and then I can go through it and sort of be like, this was a good idea, let's turn this into like something that happens in the story, or let's turn this into something that a character says, which is like, if I hear somebody in real life say something interesting or funny, then I'll write it down. So yeah, I definitely think that it's like a good technique to use whenever you're creating your own work.
Excellent. Yeah, I have many Trello boards, and I always start out my stories being very organized. Like this happens in Act 1, Act 2, and Act 3. The Black Wall one is like just so wildly off from because I've redrafted so many times, and I have other Google Docs that are filled with outlines, and I like go back to the Trello one, and I'm like, who is this character? Like, I think I wrote them out. Like they went where? Huh? So it definitely helps to be organized so you can get all your ideas in a row, for sure. It's something I need to get better at.
Nice.
Yeah. We have Andrew here. Andrew, I'm going to take you off mute. You unmuted yourself. Excellent. Andrew, why don't you introduce yourself to the audience and tell us a little bit about what you're working on?
Oh, yeah. I'm Andrew Guilde. I am a writer and creator. I have my next series, Forgotten Hymns. It will be on Kickstarter November 10th, so this is this Tuesday. And then I think Nathan was already talking about it. I'm going to be working with Nathan on a project called Children of the State. Hopefully spring. We don't have a date locked down, but we'll get it here.
It's going to be
once we get our respective plates cleared. So yeah, and I'm just excited to be here and talk to you guys. And Angela, I had this whole plan in my head because I have super cats.
Oh yeah.
So I had this whole plan in my head to like show like, oh Angela, I'm a big fan of yours, and like show you the book. But it's upstairs in my daughter's room, and we just put her down, and my wife would murder me if I walked into her room right now.
Oh, yeah, I don't wish that on you, but thank you so much for reading Super Cats. I appreciate that, and I'm sure that Caleb does as well.
Yeah. I had it all planned out in my head. It was gonna be the cool thing. Definitely backfired. So I apologize.
No, that's fine. Getting your daughter to bed is more important.
Yeah. And now that you've all been in this group together, now you're all friends, so you can just talk to each other anytime you want. So
yeah.
Excellent. And it's funny because I asked Nathan, because I did the art for you, and you're like, what do you want in exchange? And I'm like, I don't know. And I'm like, oh, I want to have you on my live stream. And then Andrew was like, oh, I'm launching. And I'm like, awesome. Like we can co-do this. And of course, Angela's super cool. So we had to have you come on too.
Yeah,
And
I was like, okay.
And then I think Andrew, I think you said something to me first, like, "Oh, that's so funny. Nathan and I are going to collab in the future." I'm like, "Oh, that's so perfect." So it all worked out, and
what a small world.
I know, right? It's very nice to have a community and stuff. I've been a freelance illustrator for 15 years, and have often found that I'm kind of working by myself and feeling like a little bit of an island and a little bit isolated from other artists, and didn't really have many people to talk shop with. And then I stumbled across, of course, the comics launch community and everything. And yeah, this has been a wonderful kind of it's breathed new life into me quite a bit. So this has been thrilling for me.
Absolutely. Just meeting all these people who all have these great goals. We're all making really cool stuff. We're reaching for our dreams. We're getting them. I haven't been in a community like that before, especially with other comic artists. It's totally turned around my career. I know it's really helped me get pretty far having you all around me. So thank you all for that. We wouldn't be here tonight if it wasn't for you guys and the other people in our community. So it's definitely one of those jobs where you can be very isolated in it, and you can't really explain it to other people who aren't in it with you. Yeah. So having those people around you, even just to say like, oh, like I'm frustrated with this, or, I don't know how to Twitter, just having that group around to be like, I don't know how to Twitter either. Or like, I used to not know how to do that. Like, this is how I did it. Yeah. It makes all the difference in the world.
This is like advanced calculus to me right now, the StreamYard thing. Like, I have no idea what's like. I feel like I'm in the Matrix right now.
Up in the Phantom Zone.
Your reference is much cooler than I was. I was thinking more like this: the story of a lovely lady who was bringing up her lovely girlfriend.
Also very Brady Bunchy. I see it. Yeah. Like, I go old school, like Hollywood Squares. Got that going on here.
Oh wow! Yeah, I remember the first time watching Hollywood Squares. I could not follow. I'm like, what is this? Why is it an X there? Why are they asking trivia? What's happening?
The first time I watched Hollywood Square, I think that it was on the same channel that like Whose Line Is It Anyways used to be on.
Right.
Yeah. So that's like anytime I hear the like Hollywood Square, I'm immediately like, oh, Drew Carey.
Oh, wow. No, my brother was a big fan of Price is Right. So during summer break, I would always have to fight him at like 10 a.m. for the TV because he was always on. It was always Price is Right with him. So then I think there was like a string of them afterwards, and Hollywood Squares was one of them.
Yes, and then there was like the it was like one of those dating shows where they were like covered by a curtain.
Oh yeah, and they had to pick between the three of them.
Oh,
yeah.
I like to go walk on the beach.
Yeah. Really watching some strange programming at like 6 and 7 years old, to be honest with you.
Right. Very appropriate. Maybe a daughter emergency.
Oh yeah, a child perhaps.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope we didn't scare him off with our Hollywood Squares.
We tricked you.
Life.
You thought this was going to be about comics. It's really about retro gaming shows.
I know. I'm
Drew Carey Trivia Night. Welcome.
Surprise.
But whose line is it anyway, though? No, great.
Getting back to Drew Carey.
Right.
So with we were talking, about making our work, and so what are some of the favorite things you guys have to work on with your work? What are some of the favorite aspects of making comics for you?
So Oof, that's a hard one because there's so many good parts about making comics, and then there's so many, in my opinion, bad parts. But my favorite part, I'll just say that the bad parts is just inking, but that's it. But
For sure.
I love colors. Like, colors is my favorite. But as far as like creating an actual story, definitely coming up with like character personalities and also character design. So like all of the aspects of coming up with the characters in the story. That's my favorite. It's my favorite thing.
Awesome. Nathan, what about you?
I got to second that. Character design is hands down probably one of my favorite things, just because there's so much that you can put in and communicate just via their attitude, their posture, their demeanor. Like, are they kind of or are they more kind of, yeah, just there's like so much there, and the human brain is so keyed towards picking up on those signals. It's just so much fun to play with them and kind of communicate what what a character is about, just via kind of everything about them, honestly. Let's see. I'm actually going to go the opposite way on the inking because yes,
Hot take.
yeah, I know, right? Probably my favorite part, or the part that kind of engages my brain the most, is page layout and coming up with the composition of how panels flow from one to the next. Inking is kind of like mowing the lawn for me a little bit, in that I find it very cathartic and soothing, and it doesn't take as much brain power for me as page layout and penciling, but it's very satisfying. I can watch a movie or something like that while I do it, or listen to a audiobook or something like that. For me, the most tedious part that I enjoy outsourcing is flatting, is laying down flat colors. Yeah, that's kind of like the okay, here we go kind of part of it. So
awesome. Andrew, what about you? What's your favorite part of comics creating as a writer? Or you could talk about art if you want. I won't limit you.
No.
Yeah. I'll probably say creating something that didn't exist in the world beforehand. I'm going to get like kind of philosophical here. Like, the coolest part to me as a writer is whenever you're the collaborative part. So like when you're working with an artist and you get some sort of art back, I always call it like it's a mix between Christmas morning and your birthday all wrapped into one, because they're taking something that you wrote down, that you had in your head, and it didn't exist before. It's like in this weird nebulous place that you can't grab or feel, and then they make it real, which is really, really awesome. Like, that's literally magic, right? And when you get it back, every experience I've had so far, it's always been exactly how I imagined it, but better, if that makes any sense at all.
Right.
And so like when like, it's kind of nice because like me and Nathan have had these conversations already. Like when we've bounced ideas back and forth, it's, hearing like when you guys get on like the same wavelength, it's really kind of cool because you guys start, doing things that you wouldn't have done on your own or wouldn't have thought on your own. And then when, we start talking about something and Nathan will give me a character back, I'm like, that's exactly what I thought, but way better than any way I could have ever described it, or like the words just don't do it justice. And that's really the coolest part to me is, the first thing is bringing something to the world that didn't exist, right? Like that physical comic, when you get it, like that's proof positive that you did something in the world that, you did. Like that's yours forever. You can always show that. Like, one reason why I do comics is I want to tell my daughter when she's older, she can do whatever she wants if she puts her mind to it. And I don't want that to be like an empty gesture as a parent. I want that to be like a real thing. And, when she looks me in my eyes when she's older, she's like, no, what are you talking about? It's like, look, I wanted to do this. Look at this. Look at, like, this is my proof. So like, that's really, really important to me. And then obviously, creating something so much better than what you could have created on your own when you're collaborating. Like comics to me is just an amazing medium. And then you get to meet really awesome people like you guys and hang out and on a Saturday night and, you know, drink some beer and talk comics. So what's better than that?
Absolutely. Yeah, wow, lots of great answers. I think I think for me it's weird. I go back and forth on the inking. I go back and forth on the character designing and the script writing. Like, do I actually like this? So sometimes it's like it depends on my mood. For me, actually, I think my absolute favorite part is pencils. Because I draw really sketchy storyboards. So the page with the pencils, that's the first time I'm really seeing this page start to come to life and see it take on that physical form. And, you know, it's this process of just being loose and really trying to get the characters on there. And that moment where you really nail that character and you get just the right look and you see they almost get like this twinkle in their eye and you've put that into them. It's like, yes, like this is going to be a good one. This is a good panel, or this is exactly how I wanted it. That's definitely, there's nothing like that. It's absolute magic every time.
Yeah, it's like breathing life into it.
Yeah.
Very much so. I was actually going to ask you, Melissa, you've had some really interesting concepts that I've seen in your work. The Alchemist of Aurelia and Vatican Assassins and Black Ball. I was wondering, like, what inspires you? I always hate the where do you get your story ideas question, but it's kind of like what drives your narratives? When you have an idea, what about it makes you go, aha, that is what I want to do.
Excellent. Yeah, I kind of pull it from a little bit of everywhere. Like sometimes I have these really crazy dreams that are very narrative. And actually Vatican Assassins kind of came from one of those. It was two kids running through the streets of Rome. They were chasing demons. It almost played out like an anime episode. They had like a school bully who was like, nice. And then, you know, it was so vivid. And then I woke up and I'm like, yeah, I got to do something with this. And nice. I just kind of take things that I'm interested in, you know, or things a lot of the times, you know, if I'm watching something or reading something, I'm like, well, this is good, but what if this? And then it starts to evolve from there. With Black Ball, it was actually a question of like, well, you know, there's fantasy and it's always in ye olden times, but what if it wasn't? And what would that look like? And then it's like, all right, you know, so it was starting to think about how do you make that into a full concept that's fun and interesting. And, I ended up reading up on the like whole Tesla Edison rivalry because I was like, oh, that would be cool to use in like a 1920s story, you know, something to use kind of as a backdrop. Of course, their story happened in the 1800s, so I'm like, bummer. But I kept thinking about it more and like some of the concepts behind it and like, all right, what if you had these two different people and then that spawned these sort of like two different movements, and what does that look like in a fantasy setting? And that's where I came up with the idea for you have magic users and arcanists and arcane sciences, and then you have the practicals and practical scientists. And you know, how do you divide that up? And it just kind of took off from there. And of course, you know, 1920s, when better to set a murder mystery? And you know, just kind of kept going off from there.
No, that's fantastic. I love the science magic dichotomy premise. So that's and something I kind of want to tackle in one of my own future stories. So that's fantastic. I'm backing Black Ball. You should too, kids.
Honestly, it's so good. I remember whenever I read it digitally. I started reading it digitally, and like I read the first page, and I was just so impressed with like how you really managed to tackle it actually feeling like the story was going on in like the 20s, and just sort of like I don't even know how to explain it. It was just like, yes, this is in the 20s. Look at all these little details and like look at like the clothes that the characters are wearing and like the styles they have and their mannerisms that makes it really believable, even for like something that ties fantasy into it. So it's just like an amazing story. Please go back it right now.
URL is down there. Go get it.
What? Did you say we can read Black Ball online somewhere? That's amazing. Where can I find that?
Absolutely. you want to start getting into the story, you want to start up with reading it, see if it's something you will like, and you will like it, welcome to blackball.com is where the webcomic itself lives. There's also is a link on the Kickstarter page. If you prefer to hold your books, whether on your phone or as a book in your hand, you can actually get both digital and physical copies through the campaign. We're going to a third reprinting of issue 1 and 2. I'm going to clean up some things with issue 1 because I recently went back and read it, and oh boy. So this is going to be a remastered, re-edited, hopefully no spelling mistakes this time, issue 1, because I am a terrible speller also, as you will learn. Why don't we go? We'll do some, we have a couple of questions in the chat. We have some pretty good ones. We did talk about this earlier, but Dust Bunny Mafia wants to know what everyone's drinking right now.
That's it. I'll stick with my previous answer. A lot.
This is right. Isn't this 1920s themed? So I guess I got bootleg hooch. That's what I'm drinking. Bootleg hooch.
And I'm drinking chocolate milk.
Wonderful. And I'm drinking a Tom Collins. All right. We have another question. It's specifically for Angela, but I think we should all answer this. Who is the hottest old-timey president? From Russell Nolte, our friend and mentor, friend and pal.
Hi, Russell. Hi, Russell. Thank you. Yeah, so actually this question came up today because Russell made a list of all of the, not to get too political, but he made a list of all of the one-term presidents in the history of the United States. And I said that I was going to come in, in a little bit and give everybody a list of United States presidents from hottest to nottest. So I really haven't done my research 100% so far. And it's really hard because the guys that I want to say are not, good guys. I don't.
Where do we land on mutton chops then?
Yeah, mutton chops. Mutton chops.
Let's just say if he's got the chops, then he's the tops, baby.
Oh, nice. Beautiful. Love it.
Nathan, Andrew, you have
please
old-timey hottie presidents. Come on.
Old-timey or
I don't know how I can beat the mutton chops. I guess number 2. I don't know. I just like the last name Garfield, so he's got to be.
Garfield the cat, actually.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going way back. I'm gonna go with TJ Thomas Jefferson. He's
now that's my answer as far as physical appearance goes. I always had as a young lady, I always had a big crush on TJ. But then if you read up on him even a little bit, you're like, ooh, never mind. So
let's see. Well, what can I say? I'm partial to redheads, so.
And for me, I'm gonna stick with my man Teddy R.
All right, Teddy R.
Saving bears, not chopping down trees.
There you go. Leaping from tree to tree in the wild outback, right?
A tree for a bear, obviously.
There you go.
Bill Colum just says, "What's up, everyone?" Hi, Bill. Someone we know very well from the community. He's got a great podcast. Make sure you check it out. Yes. And shout out to my mom because she's drinking wine tonight. Thanks,
Hi,
Mom. And thanks for supporting me. Everyone, thank this woman because one time I sobbed on the couch for 45 minutes about Michael Schumacher, and my mom accepts me. So, so thank you, Mom. And then we actually have Calvin Zero is saying people are a product of their time. Sure thing. Yeah, it certainly is. In regards to our president's conversation.
Yes.
All right.
Can't argue with it. Terrible times.
I'm sure people are going to look back and think we're not great either. And, that's all right because we won't be around for it.
They're going to look back and be like, but those guys were cool, though.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. We're pretty rad. We're pretty awesome.
Yeah, we're working on it.
We're getting it. You know, it's like a fine wine. We just have to age it a little bit. So we were talking about, you know, where do our ideas come from? You know, all of us here, we either work in horror. Andrew, you've got your horror comic coming up on Tuesday. You know, Angela, your work is very horror-esque with a side of cute. And Nathan, you and I, we work more in the fantasy scenes, but we aren't afraid to get a little horrific every now and then. Why don't we talk about, you know, horror as a genre, talk about what drew us to it, and, you know, kind of how we play around in that space. Mm-hmm. So the floor is open. Don't make me start calling names.
Okay.
Floor is open. Floor is open.
Sure, I'll take the lead, I guess. I've always liked horror. My mom is a really big horror fan, so kind of through osmosis, I became a horror fan. Like I remember watching like Tales from the Crypt and Outer Limits, Twilight Zone, things I should not have been watching as a kid. I was watching with my mom like Texas Chainsaw Massacre and like Nightmare on Elm Street, all those things that no child should be watching. I was watching with my mom.
Your mom did not watching.
Yeah, yeah. And I you know, I kind of grew up kind of always interested in it as a fan of horror, and now kind of like as a writer and a creator, I really like playing around with it because I really like talking about like domestic issues. A lot of my writing kind of deals with that, and so horror is a really good genre to play around with that kind of the issues that I want to talk about in my writing and my stories. It just allows me to do it in a way, and I kind of, you know, there's some sort of like, I feel like there's like a catharsis with like being scared. Like you're scared and then you're okay. Like it's not real. And there's something really kind of soothing for me with that. Like it's like this like agreed upon thing. Like we all know it's not real and you're gonna get over it. And so like you could be scared and it's okay. And then that's, I don't know, that's nice to me. That's comforting in some way, as weird as that sounds. So yeah, I really like horror. For a long time, I wanted to fight being like a genre writer, but as I get older, I've decided I'm going to lean into it. But as I say that, I'm doing a sci-fi thing with Nathan, so you know, there's that.
Yeah. Nathan,
I'll go.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. I actually kind of think of myself as more of like an anti-horror kind of person. I do not like watching horror movies. I do not like being scared, but I do like monsters a whole lot. So it's kind of like this weird sort of thing where like I can't watch a horror movie without somebody being there like holding my hand the entire time. And like whenever I make my stories, the kind of, I don't know if I would call it horror, but the kind of monsters that I deal with writing about are like personal monsters. So the things that we are afraid that happened to us, the things that make us kind of like afraid of ourselves. And I sort of represent those as these creatures, these monsters that I draw. And especially in my webcomic Detached, I have creatures called Oddlings, which I named myself after. But Oddlings are, you know, physical manifestations of these monsters that represents the ghosts of our past or the parts of ourselves that we are afraid to face. And I just sort of like writing and telling stories about how we can become better at loving ourselves and learning to not be so afraid of facing those fears that we have that are inside of us. So whenever it comes to horror, I guess that if you're talking about scary stuff, it's more along the lines of just like life experience and things like that. So
Nathan.
I came to horror a little late in life, my young adulthood, via things like Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Supernatural. And those shows are great because, like Angela, I like monsters. And if you pay attention, those shows both have the underlying notion of, hey, monsters are people too. And that's kind of the beauty therein, is that you can go either way with monsters. You can go a lot of way with monsters. You can have monsters be misunderstood anti-heroes like the Hulk, or you could have monsters be like actual monsters are representing the some aspect of the human experience, like paranoia in The Thing, or man's insignificance in the cosmos, like in Lovecraft. So yeah, I more looking a little bit more deeply. I like things that stand for other things, and monsters are a very rich field in which to play as far as that goes.
Definitely. Yeah, I'm definitely in the camp of like I get too scared too easily. I've got really into Ghost Hunters in college, but I had to stop watching it because I wasn't sleeping because I was too scared. Which is a shame because I love it. And my coming to writing about more like horrific things that happen, because we all go through life where these events do occur to us or around us, and we have to figure out how to deal with them. And what better way than to use monsters and the unfathomable and the unexplainable to kind of try to examine those things. Not so many monsters in Black Ball, but my other series, you had kids fighting demons, and you have all kinds of monsters and stuff that they were always coming up against. And for me, it was a way to show, even when it gets tough, if you keep to it and you remember, that you do have the strength to overcome. You can overcome things. You can find that light in the darkness. So that's always something I try to bring through with my works. With something like Black Ball, where it's more taking place in a realistic-ish world, it's more monstrous people, and how did these people get that way, and how do you deal with them? Do you fight them head on? Do you try to get around them another way? We'll be kind of exploring some of those themes, and maybe like, I don't want to give away spoilers for later events in the story, but there'll definitely be some questioning of, are people monstrous because of the actions they take or the actions they don't take? And how does that affect them? And, how do you see them after that? So that's where I came around to it. The kind of horror I engage in these days is like 1930s horror, like Bela Lugosi, Dracula. Like that is my jam. I would love in the future to do something that kind of has more of that horror aesthetic, but let's finish one comic at a time. Don't want to get too many ideas going at once.
I love the theme song from the original Bela Lugosi Dracula. It's so haunting and simple and straightforward and driving. It's music.
One of my favorite movies. I was like very obsessed with Renfield from that movie. I love that character. I don't know why. I just was very drawn to him.
Right. And so now I'm thinking back. No, I love the Universal monsters back in the day. The Creature from the Black Lagoon, Dracula, and after church, AMC always had the kaiju monster marathon. So like the entire afternoon, it was Godzilla versus somebody, and that was how I spent my Sunday afternoons as a kid. So.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's definitely a lot to play around with in horror and in fantasy as well. I think we're all kind of like fantasy or fantasy adjacent. Also, obviously I do a lot of stuff with magic because it's fun and you can hurl it at people. So there you go, action scene done.
Yeah, that's why I've been getting so much into like cryptids lately, because it's sort of like monsters and fantasy. Hooray! Big party.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Oh. Or was that if there was
I thought someone was going to speak, so that I was like, I better not say anything. I want to let the conversation flow.
I purposely had myself on mute so you guys can't like hear me cackle this whole entire time, because my wife yells at me all the time that I have like smoking going laugh. So I put myself on mute on purpose. So now that I don't want to talk, I'm trying to save everyone from screeching nails in a chalkboard.
Oh, that's it. What draws everyone to fantasy?
I'll start us off because I was that kid. I read tons of manga as a kid, anything I could get my hands on, pretty much. And there's such a wide range of stuff in manga, just so many different genres and how they handle things, and it just kind of everything. And a lot of my favorite stories were, either adventure stories or like shonen manga. Like I was all about, I started reading with Yu-Gi-Oh, and then I got into One Piece, and I was into Naruto for a bit, and D Gray Band was like one of my favorites, and I was kind of taking in all these different things with adventures and magic and these crazy other worlds. So as someone, like, I lived in a very small town, not a lot going on, a lot of times where I was the only kid at the family event, so I had to find these ways to entertain myself. So it was easy to get lost in these worlds where anything could kind of happen. I could get out of my small town, I could be, or just kind of be in that world where fantastical things were happening.
Yeah, it was sort of similar for me too. Like, obviously I'm a big weeb, so I was reading mangas and everything whenever I was little. But I think like the most prominent memory that I have is that me and my older sister would play Ocarina of Time. Yes, Ocarina of Time. And like after we would be done playing, a lot of the times we both like, I don't know, moms weren't around, so we would be like at my Nana's house. And my Nana's house had like woods in the back of it. So we would go and pretend we were in the Lost Woods, and we would pretend to be Pose. And like, that's what we would do.
Yeah. Just like, you got a Nana, I got a Nana.
Yeah,
so.
Nana.
Party. Let's see. My earliest memory of fantasy is my mom read me the Chronicles of Narnia, like all of them, I think when I was 8 or somewhere in there. And it totally just stuck with me. And then I think my 5th grade teacher, every Friday, he would read us The Hobbit. Over the course of the school year, he would read The Hobbit, which in retrospect makes me wonder how many pages he would read a pop, because it's not that long of a book. And how on earth did he stretch it over the course of 8 months? But yeah, like those 2 things really just got me stuck on it for life. So I was I was totally groomed for fantasy from a young age. So
I just recently reread the Chronicles of Narnia. Yeah, so
very dated, but
yeah, a little bit. But still, especially like, I don't know, I still got like the same feelings that I got reading at least the first one as I did when I was a kid, because it's just like, yay!
I was awfully sad that that the movies petered out after Dawn Treader, but but that was a really hard adaptation. I don't fault them for biffing that one a little bit, but
yeah. But I guess the same could be said about like The Hobbit and everything. But
fair.
The Hobbit is like my absolute favorite. It was the first book that I ever like remember reading on my own. Mm-hmm. So yay me!
Yay.
Andrew, jump on in. What do you got for us?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the very first horror or fantasy story that I read, I want to say it was like the cartoon version of Narnia. It was like one of the first ones I remember, like it sticks out in my head. But I was always a really big like anime fan. I was really big into like Saturday morning cartoons. I was always kind of into all that stuff. Like me and Nathan had a conversation not too long ago. I was really into Final Fantasy. That was like probably like my big like the thing that hooked me was probably Final Fantasy VII when I was in, I want to say like middle school. That like hooked me, but I was really into like fantasy stuff in anime and Saturday morning cartoons. Like I really just love just kind of like the huge worlds that fantasy has. Like every fantasy story, there's always like this giant world that's like involved in it, and like I've always wanted to be like, man, I wish there was like more like stories that like I wonder what's going on like down the block, like what's going on over there. And so that was like something that I really enjoyed like as a kid, and then with all fantasy stories, really.
You know, that is what I always wonder about, like Star Wars. Like, we only ever meet like rebels and Empire people in Star Wars. Like, what are like the office workers on Coruscant doing? You know, like you see all those flying cars in the background. Like, where is that guy going? You know, what's he doing? What's his day like? You know, does he know or care about the rebellion? Like, what does he think about it? You know, does he have an opinion?
Or is he just trying to get to work?
He's just trying to get to work. You know, like
yeah, that is a whole story right there. Like you have like 5 issues of a comic of this like guy just trying to get to work, and in the background there's like a huge rebellion. He's
Those
like,
are my favorite kinds of stories.
he's like literally like, I got to get to accounting. Like,
Yeah.
my boss is a jerk.
you got to get to Imperial Accounting. You know, like just aren't going to pay for itself. That's it. Or that was kind of my biggest question going into like the new sequel trilogy is like, what does the general public know about Darth Vader? Like Luke Skywalker is apparently this big legendary figure. Does everybody know that his dad was Darth Vader? Like, what? Come on, what's the ground eye view version of this? Like, what's the story here?
And do they know he's played by Mark Hamill? Like,
Yes, there you go.
He's the Joker. Like how?
oh,
Serious.
so, you know, now that we've talked about kind of like the behind the scenes work, you know, there's always the getting your work out there, which is partially why we're here tonight. But, you know, we're all kind of taking some different paths. Some of us are going the Kickstarter route. Some of us are going the pitching to publishers route, or have gone the webcomics route. So, you know, maybe talk a little bit about which route like you decided to take. How did you decide to start getting your work out there, and why you went that way? Don't all jump at it.
I have been freelance illustrating for the majority of my career, and that has been largely. I've been fortunate for the first 5 years. It was a lot of hunting work, and then after that, it was a lot of people finding me. So that was very nice. I have not done a whole lot of pitching, so I can't to publishers. You pitch to people at conventions a lot, you know, when you're trying to get out your own thing. But I have never actually pitched to a publisher, so I can't speak to that.
But so you did start doing Kickstarters this year.
I did. This is my very first year doing Kickstarters, and that is largely being very enthusiastic about your work and what you did, and being proud of it. And I sunk 8 years of my life into the production of Impure Blood. It's a 400-page story. So clearly I am very passionate and driven about it, or at least am severely suffering from the sunk cost fallacy. So, so yeah, being passionate about your work is, of course, key. But also being succinct and kind of crystallizing what you're doing into, you know, a sentence or two, or a paragraph at most, just because whoever you're pitching to is busy and has their own life and everything like that they need to get to. So as far, I think I may have lost track of the question, but.
Andrew, Angela?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah. So I kind of fell into comics by accident, because I was at the time just kind of doing like paintings, acrylic paintings. And I met Russell and a few other creators that had me do like splash images for the backs of their books and pinups and stuff. And from there, I just sort of started making little zines that I assumed that was where I was going to stop. And the first time that I uploaded one of my zines, and at the time I was just doing them with photo copy paper and Sharpies, I uploaded it onto Tapas, which is where I host Detached now. And like very slowly, it started to get a little bit of a following, and eventually, I'm at like 8,000 subscribers, 10,000 subscribers between the two platforms that I host on. So like webcomics definitely was this thing where it started to build my audience. So if you have something small that you can kind of throw up online, whether it's on Tapas or just doing like 4-panel stuff on Instagram, it definitely helps build an audience so that people know who you are and sort of what your voice is, and if they're interested in that, and if they want to get to know you and your work more. So I definitely think like webcomics and social media, that's a big thing. You know, people want to, it gives people the chance to get to know you as a creator and as a person before they jump into your work. And obviously, like I've been a part of a lot of Kickstarters that have been like majorly successful. I've been a part of a lot of anthologies. Cthulhu is Hard to Spell, The Great Commandment, which just funded, I think, 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Super Cats, and those, you know, are all successful, and those are all, you know, anthologies. That's a great way to get your name out there because you're kind of sharing communities and sharing audiences with people that maybe normally you wouldn't get to show your work to. So that's like a big thing. And then I haven't pitched before, but I am working on my very first pitch for Detached, where I'm going through and sort of, like you said, Nathan, like sort of condensing everything that a 400-page story is into a couple of sentences in a paragraph, because the people that you're going to be pitching to at publishers and everything like that are busy, and they just want to look at it real quick and see if that's their jam or not. So we'll see how that goes. Hopefully well.
Absolutely. Andrew, you're actually kind of making a return to Kickstarter, a return with Forgotten Hymns, right? Because you were away from it for a while.
Yeah, my whole, I guess, publishing story is really convoluted, so I'll try to give like the Cliff Notes version. So my first series, Man of Sin, which was a horror series as well, me and the artist that was working on it, we put a pitch package together, and I sent it out to every publisher that accepted pitches, and everyone said no, which is totally fine. But one publisher actually wrote me back and said, you know, this is really good work, but it's not right for this company. You should go to Kickstarter. And at that time, I was like, I have no idea what Kickstarter is. I have no idea what this thing is. So I looked into it, and I decided to put the first issue up because we had already finished it. So the first issue to get printed, like a physical copy is printed. And this was back in 2016. So went to Kickstarter. That was successful. And then through that, I had a lot of interest from other publishers. And then we got picked up by a small publisher, and we released issue 1 and 2 in 2018 to the direct market. And then right when issue 3 for Man of Sin was about to come out, they closed their doors and shut down. So they were like, we can't do this anymore. So we were kind of stuck in limbo for a while. And luckily we had a nice little fan base that really wanted the story to come out. So me and the artist, we were talking, and we were like, let's just go back to Kickstarter. So in 2019, we went to Kickstarter for the graphic novel of Man of Sin, and we successfully funded that. So we were able to print that, get that out to our fans, get it out to more fans and a bit larger artists than we had before. And then the Man of Sin story didn't end there. More publishers kind of came around. Some said yes, which was weird. Like some publishers came to us, were like, well, let's see what you work. Well, no, it's not for us, which is a weird thing in and of itself. But another publisher just picked us up to redistribute and kind of to the direct market. So that'll be coming in like 2021 here. I don't know if I can say anything yet. I'm not sure. So anyways, that'll be coming to the direct market. So Man of Sin will be, in the direct market 2021. And then for Forgotten Hymns, after that whole fiasco, I just decided the more I talked to creators, the more I talked to different people in the comic book world, the more I kind of saw the landscape kind of shaping up, the more I realized I didn't want to pitch anymore. Because I don't want someone to tell me whether or not they're going to publish my work when I can do it for myself. And I realized after both of the Kickstarters for Man of Sin that I hold all the leverage when I create it myself. When I go to publishers, they come to me. And so for Forgotten Hymns, I didn't put a pitch package together. I went directly to Kickstarter because for me, I could do everything that a publisher could do for me as well, really. And the only reason why I put Man of Sin back to another publisher, and it's something that like after I signed the last agreement, I like immediately kind of regretted it. And it's because I don't want to do all like the extra stuff, right? Like the marketing stuff and all the stuff that like I don't really know how to do, but like I have to figure out as an independent creator. And I just realized after I signed that I don't want to give up. Like, I don't want to just like hand the keys over to something I worked so hard on to someone else. So Forgotten Hymns, I'm just taking it right to Kickstarter, and I'm just going to see where that goes. If a publisher wants to come to me and wants to pick it up, and if the deal's right, I'm all for talking about it. But I've just come to the realization that I don't need anyone. So that's kind of my story.
Excellent. Wow. Yeah, for me, I kind of bounced everywhere. I started with like my first webcomic back in the Keen Spot days. Like when I got my first email, I'm like, yeah, I'm doing webcomics. We're doing this. I wasn't very good, but at least I was giving it a go. And then I kind of bounced around. I did some things on DeviantArt back when they used to do like original character leagues and tournaments. So I started, cutting my chops there. And then after I graduated college and I had more time, I was like, let's try this webcomic thing again. I learned WordPress and I started just getting something out there. Ended up, kind of connecting with some really nice communities out there. The webcomic underdogs definitely got me through a lot of the early years. They were a great community, still are. And I was getting to the point, though, like with webcomics, where I was very much focused on getting out that page or two a week. And it was like all I could think about. And the schedule was very particularly arranged and nothing can be out of place. It's like, I'm 5 minutes late getting home. I'm never going to get. And it was very stressful. And I never thought I could be a person who did Kickstarter. I was like, oh, I'll never be that cool. I'll never be, I'll never have that audience. I'll never make it. And being in, our comics community, especially with us Comic Launch people, and just being around other people that were doing this and kind of seeing the behind the scenes of what they were doing, it's like, you know what? No, I can do this. Like, let's give this a go. Let's give it a try. So I gave it a try this year. I failed the first one, but that was okay. I was actually kind of excited about it because I had all this great data to work with from my audience. I was actually getting messages from Russell Nolte afterwards, and he's like, "Are you okay? How are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm great. I'm starting a new job tomorrow. I got all this data." I think it kind of surprised him a little, like, "Oh, I'm like, yeah, it's good." And, having that data and having that audience to work with, it's like, all right, now I can start, I can work with this. I can go somewhere with this. So Kickstarter has been really great for that. And like we've been talking about, like being able to own your own thing and put it out there and kind of find your people. That's really been the way to do it. I think it's been fun. It's definitely been challenging. There are those days where you just feel like you're shouting into the void, and like, is anyone even out there reading this? And kind of doing these campaigns and starting to put my work out there in a new way through this. It's been enlightening. It's been nice. It's nice to find the audience, to find the people who are interested, and to bring them something really special that I really loved working on and loved creating, and bring them into my world. For sure. I was also thinking about, what do you want people to feel when they read your work? Because I always want people to feel a little upset afterwards. Not very upset, just a little bit upset, but have that engrossed feeling, that feeling I always had as a kid. The hours I spent playing Kingdom Hearts or Ocarina of Time, or the hours I spent reading my favorite manga. You know, I want someone to have that feeling of like, what's going to happen next, and being that engrossed, and also being a little upset and unhappy. Like, I can't believe that happened to my favorite character. What do you guys, do you guys think about how your readers are going to feel when they read this, or how you'd like them to feel? Or
yeah, that's like at least for me, I started making art because I, as a kid and as an adult and through all, you know, stretches of my life, I turned to art as a coping mechanism for whenever I felt like there wasn't anybody there to support me. So as an artist and as a storyteller, I tell these stories about my experiences that I've had, because if one person reads it and feels less alone, then I've done my job. And that's really all that I can ask for, is that it makes somebody else in this world feel like there's somebody out there that understands them, and that so they don't have to feel so isolated.
When I was coming up and consuming media and stuff like that, I very much had the self-insertion fanfic fantasies quite a few times. So, and that was how I always kind of knew that I was really gelling with something, is because I wanted to be in the thing and be interacting with these people and having conversations with these people and just pointing out this, that, and the other thing. I wanted to be a part of it. And like that experience, I want my audience to feel like this is a universe that they could play in, that they could interact with, that they could participate in, and that they could have conversations with these characters and kind of pull the little threads apart and really dive into it and get involved in it in a personal kind of way, to consume it in a way that is more than just a entertainment for a while they were reading it. I want them to I want it to stick in their mind for like a couple of days or a week afterwards.
Yeah, I completely agree with Angela and Nathan, for that matter. I'm not gonna leave you out. I'm not gonna leave you hanging there, Nathan. But yeah, like if I could create something that resonates with another person, that's really all that matters to me. So like all of my stories that I like to deal with usually deal, like the way I look at story in general, it's your chance to tell the world the right way to live it, and like however you want to unpack that, it's your chance to say something to the world. And for me, like I usually deal with domestic stuff, like Man of Sin was about losing a loved one. Forgotten Hymns is about abuse. Children of the States, a little bit bigger than that. That's my first kind of like bigger story, but it still has to deal with, having to deal with, your body and choices and things like that. And if one person could feel a certain way and want, maybe get something out of that, and not feel as alone, or maybe be inspired to maybe want to write their story from it, that's kind of one of the great things that, I'm always striving for with my stories. Whether or not I get there or not, that's up for debate, but that's what I'm striving for. And like what Nathan said, if someone, I try to make my stories self-contained, but with a mythos underneath them, to where people want to explore them later and want to feel more, and they feel like this is a place they want to go to. And I know I'm dealing with horror, so it's probably not a great place you want to go to, but at least a place like that's larger than themselves. That's something I'm always looking for too. So yeah, like I think both those answers are great. And it's something like I always try to do with my own work as well. And I need to get a charger, so I'll be right back.
Awesome. We'll take this time to just do we got a couple good comments in the comments section. Dr. Adam Hansel is letting us know that in Dracula, the theme song used is the theme from Swan Lake. So now you know. Feel free to play it at all.
Night.
Yeah. All right, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah, now you can just take it on the boom box and walk around your house with it. Da-da-da.
Wait for the
I'll be
remix.
like the one that like carries around my phone like this whenever I'm waiting at the bus stop listening to Swan like
That's impressive.
Excellent. Bill Colum's got some good news. We have cruised past $1,000 on Black Ball, so thank you to everybody, to our new backers, old backers, all backers. Thank you very much. We have a potential hot take. Michelle Murphy says that the BBC Narnia was the best from 1988. Thoughts from the panel?
I have no thoughts. I haven't seen BBC Narnia.
That's your opinion, and you're entitled to it.
Excellent. So we are at the top of the hour here. If we want to give some closing words, we'll wait for Andrew to come back. We won't just leave without him. That'd be kind of weird, wouldn't it? So give some closing thoughts, guys. If you want to each take a minute to kind of talk a little bit about what you're doing, if you got some upcoming projects coming up that we should be on the lookout for, and anything you'd like to say to our lovely audience.
Impure Blood Volume 2 is on Kickstarter for 4 more days. We're not quite to 100% funded yet. We've got a pretty awesome bundle that includes an art commission. So you might want to jump on that until we hit our funding goal. Otherwise, it's the final stretch. So hope you will check that out. And I'll be working on Children of the State with Andrew, coming soon. Also to Kickstarter. Hi. Yeah.
Excellent.
Is Andrew going? Am I going?
Yeah.
I'll go. So my name is, again, Angela Oddling. Thank you so much for inviting me to the party. If you want to check out my work, you can go onto Instagram and look me up. I'm Angela Oddling, pretty much on all social media. And then if you go on Tapas and Webtoon, you can look up my webcomic Detached and read a little bit about my characters on there. And that would make me really happy if you went ahead and did that. And also go ahead and why don't you back all these lovely people's Kickstarters that they have scrolled along a little bit the end of here? Why don't you
we do. Andrew, any parting words?
Yeah, I'm Andrew Guilde. If you want the first issue of my horror comic Man of Sin, go to Guilde, that's AGUILDE.com/free comic. You can get issue 1 for free. And if you want to get notified when Forgotten Hymns, it's right there. Forgotten Hymns goes live on Kickstarter on Tuesday, which is in a couple days, Tuesday, November 10th. Make sure you click the link below. It's a Lovecraftian horror series that I think, if you're into that stuff, you're going to love it. So, check it out. And I can't wait to work with Nathan over here on our upcoming project. And MJ, thanks for inviting me. Make sure you back Black Ball. Make sure you back this way.
Over there.
Impure Blood, and go check out that way. Tapas for Angela. There you go.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you guys so much for being in the party with me. As an extrovert and as a comics person, I have so much loved getting to talk with you this past hour. I think we've had a lot of fun tonight. So thrilled to know all three of you, and I can't wait to see what you're going to make in the future. Looking forward to getting my Impure Blood copy, Nathan. Andrew, I'm going to be there on launch day, and Angela, I've been reading and I am caught up. So please go check out all these lovely people and their work. Again, blackball.melissajmassey.com. Please check out the campaign. We are 67% funded. We are going until December 3rd. But don't wait. Right now you can get a week 1 special bundle of free comics. So go check it out. If you like murder mysteries, if you like fantasy, if you like the 1920s, if you like anything that we've said here tonight, you're going to love this comic. So go check it out.
Check it out. Go check it out.
Do it. Again, thank you everyone so much for watching and joining. I hope we've all had fun. I know I've had a lot of fun, and I'll catch you all again. Have a great night.